unfortunately, due to some technical difficulties, including, or maybe not including, one chopped off finger, we had to delete the first part of the video of me cutting up the pumpkin. But we're okay. I still have 9 fingers like I was born with, and we have a pumpkin. It's a pumpkin-sized pumpkin. Pumpkin-sized pumpkin. I'm sorry, it's a pumpkin pie-sized pumpkin. So what I'm doing is just chopping it up into smaller pieces and cleaning it out and rubbing it with extra virgin olive oil. And I'm saving the pumpkin seeds because I want to make baked pumpkin seeds for my brother. So you don't have to clean it out completely. If you have a little bit of strings in there, it's not going to hurt it. So you want to do about this size, not too much bigger than a palm size because that'll be the best baking time. And we're going to bake our pumpkin at 400 for about 25 minutes, I think. It's been a while since I've done this. But until your pumpkin is fork tender. Oh, I don't think I said what I'm making yet because, again, I forgot. We had to restart. I am making homemade pumpkin cheesecake rolls. You can use a knife if you want to with scraping out the insides, but with me being accident prone, I have just found it safer to just use a spoon, and a spoon just works fine because it's not that hard to scrape out all of the insides. If you really want to, you can just use your fingers. Put it rind side down on your tray to put in the oven. Alright, all oiled up and ready for the oven. You want to push in and have it come right out. That's how you know your pumpkin's ready. Alright, so now it's cooled down, we can touch it. So now we're just going to peel off or cut off the rind. Just go across the edge, very simple. And the rind comes off just like that. You can go this way. Whatever works best for you. Across the edge and down. Ready?
Stop. This stuff's gotta go. Shake the vanilla.
Alright, so now we have our pumpkin puree all blended together. Looks wonderful. We're going to take our pumpkin puree, and I should have gotten a measuring cup first, so we're going to do 4 cups of pumpkin. So I have my liquid measuring. I don't know how much is in here, so we're just going to measure out 4 cups. And it might be quite close to 4 cups. There's 2 cups. So that's the consistency it should be. If your pumpkin is not this consistency, you can add a little bit of water if you want to when you're blending it. I prefer to add something like apple juice. Again, your pumpkin puree should look this consistency. And if it's not, add a little bit of water or liquid just so it is kind of liquidy. So there's 4 cups. So I'll use the rest of this pumpkin stuff. I might make a little mini pumpkin pie later. Let's put it off to the side. Put that off to the side. So we have our 4 cups pumpkin puree. Now we're going to add my mise en place that I did so beautiful with. We're going to add our 4 eggs. We're going to add our 4 tablespoons of milk. And we're going to add our 2 teaspoons of vanilla. We're going to mix that up. Alright. So now it should be nice and liquidy, just like that. In this bowl, we're going to mix our dry ingredients first. So we have a cup of sugar, a half a cup of brown sugar. In here, we have a half teaspoon of baking soda, a half teaspoon of baking powder, and a full teaspoon of salt. And then as well as our seasonings, we have a 1/4 teaspoon of cumin, we have 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, and 2 teaspoons of pumpkin spice mix. Alright, so once those are all together, we're going to just mix it up nicely. Get out the chunks that brown sugar has. Once it's nice and mixed up, and some of those chunks will come out more once you add the rest of the ingredients to it too, so don't try to make it perfect. Now we're going to add our sugar mixture to our pumpkin and liquids. We're going to mix that up. Use the bigger whisk now, and you're going to see it get a little darker color from those seasonings. And then I have 4 cups of flour here. I couldn't quite remember how much flour I needed, so we're going to measure as we go. So again, it should be nice and liquidy is the consistency you want right now. Okay, so we're going to add half a cup at a time. We're going to add a whole cup to begin with, and I'm making a mess, but that's okay. And you're going to mix. You can do this with a hand mixer if you want to. I don't know where my hand mixer is, or I probably would have, but that's okay. And then we're going to add another half cup. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. I hardly ever actually measure things. I'm just doing it for you guys. Alright, so we're getting there, but still not quite there yet. It's starting to smell really good. You can really smell the cinnamon. Alright, so we're going to add another half cup. That's a total of 2 cups. It's probably going to end up being 3 cups, but we'll keep going. Oh yeah, it's almost there. Okay. So we're at another half cup. Yep. And we're going to add one more half cup. So it'll be 3 cups of flour. Whoops, made a mess. That's why I wear an apron. Alright, now I'm going to clean off the table a little bit, and I am going to get the pans ready. Alright, so now I took some nonstick parchment paper and I put it on my little pie pans. Not my pie pans, my metal pans. I'm going to spray it with an extra coat of, or non-sticking spray, because, you know, trademarks. So now I'm going to put my mix, and I'm going to pour it on. Alright, about that much. You're going to want a thin layer all the way across the bottom. Make sure it's the same thickness all the way through so that your cake bakes for the right amount of time. Because it is a cake, basically. Again, spread it all the way to the corners. Back and forth. This one has a little bit more, so I'm going to steal a cup because I can. Just make sure that both of your trays look even with the amount of cake in them. And now we're going to go put them in the oven for at 375 for about 12 to 15 minutes. Okay, so we're going to put our 2 cakes in the oven. Again, 12 to 15 minutes. And now we're going to pull the cakes out of the oven. They're going to have a couple bubbles, which is totally fine, because this is definitely not the finished product. So So if you want to come here for a second, I'll show you what it wants to bounce back as. So when you touch it, it should have a nice little bounce in it. Alright, so now that it's still hot out of the oven, we're going to take these over to the table. And we're going to roll them while they're still warm so they keep their shape. So we're going to take the parchment paper out of the very warm tray for both of them. So now I have some powdered sugar here. What we're going to do is we're going to put a very thin layer of powdered sugar over the entire thing. And this is going to help the cake from sticking to itself when we roll it. Because we're going to roll it while it's still warm so it keeps its shape while it cools down so we can add the filling. Alright, so again, just a very thin layer. Alright, what you're going to do now is you're going to roll it very carefully all the way up. Once these are rolled and set, I'm going to pop them in the freezer for about 30 minutes, maybe longer, but I want them to be nice and completely cool so I can put the filling inside and it doesn't melt the filling. I'm going to pop these in the freezer and for them to cool down. Alright, so while the cakes are cooling, we're going to make the cream cheesecake frosting, filling, whatever you want to call it. So I have 2 bars of 8-ounce cream cheese that are room temperature so they're nice and soft. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of milk. I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of vanilla. And I'm going to mix these together. Ooh, hold on. Technical difficulties! I cleaned the table. We're fine. We're fine. So once it starts to mix up, we're going to start slowly adding powdered sugar. So I'm going to add a 1/4 cup at a time. At this point, I'm also going to add full tray. I'm also going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. I am making a mess. It's okay, cooking is fun. Another 1/4 cup of powdered sugar. That is the filling we're going to use for our cheesecake rolls. Alright, so we've had our bread rolls in the freezer cooling off about half an hour. Alright, so now we're going to unroll it carefully. It's going to try to keep the shape, which is exactly what we wanted it to do. So now with the open side, we're going to take some of the homemade cream we made. We're going to rub it on the inside. And you don't want a super thick layer, because if you have a super thick layer, when you go to roll it, it's going to all come out the sides, and we don't want that. Just like that. And now we're going to roll it again. And this will be the last roll, and we're not going to use the parchment paper this time. So, we're going to roll it up as tight as we can. Again, if it has cracks, it'll taste just the same. And there we go. So, whatever thickness you want, just do a nice cut. The ends are usually a little bit the funniest, but once you get past the end, do a cut, and there's your rolls. And that is how you do pumpkin cheesecake rolls.
So good. Huh.